So, welcome. I am doing a solo podcast today, and I'm going to be talking about what's new in my world, what I've been up to, and a little bit about the type of offers that I'm having in my world right now available to you. And I came back from a trip to Italy, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. So, if all that sounds good to you, then strap on your seatbelt and let's go.
Welcome to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Jonk. I am a woman who believes that we, like wine, get better with age. Age brings us wisdom, intuition, and a level of sophistication that is beyond the reach of youth. I am here to tell you that living a luxuriously rich and fulfilling life is in your reach. I Think I Can podcast will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Allow me to show you how to do life effortlessly. This podcast is for the woman who is tired of playing by the rules of society, community, religion, parents, and partners. I Think I Can is all about becoming brave, authentic, purposeful, and strong. Listen weekly and you will find yourself living a life you could have only once dreamed of. Thoughts drive our physiology. So channel your thoughts with me into a life truly worth living. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Jonk, and I'm going to take this space here today to just sort of do a bit of a mind dump, I would say. It's just been a lot of different things on my mind lately. And it's spring, so why not just do a mind dump of all my thoughts and what's going on in the world for me lately. So here we are. Well, why don't I start off by letting you know that, okay, first of all, I am traveling to my mother's place. I am seeing her today. It's Mother's Day. This is when I'm recording this episode. And I thought, why not just use up my time while I drive out to my mom's place and do a recording here. Hopefully you can hear me well. I think you can. But I think the first thing I'm going to start by saying is that I just returned back from a trip to Italy. And if you've been in my world for some time, you might remember me doing a solo episode on around this exact same time last year, because last year I also went to Italy. It's sort of been a thing for me, but you know what? If you have a brother living in Tuscany, I think you would probably make it almost an annual thing to go see him as well. But you know what? This trip was a little bit different, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more. So yes, I took about 10 days and I traveled alone again, as I did last year. And last year I spent about 4 or 5 days with my brother on his property, which is sort of a farmhouse. Like he owns land, and in Italy, it's quite common to see a lot of the like old farmhouses. Obviously, it's nothing like North American farmhouses. It's all stone. And then, I should also note that there's also villas, right? And villas are quite different from farmhouses. Villas are massive properties, normally in a family for generations and generations, and very, very expensive, sort of, we're talking millions and millions and millions of dollars sort of thing, these villas. But it was sort of a smaller piece of land that my brother and his partner had, and I spent about 4 days with them there last year, and then I went off to do my own thing in Rome, and then I went on to Lisbon, Portugal. But this time, well, my brother had sold that property, and he is renting a home in a small city in Tuscany called Monte San Savino. And it's very close to, well, it's sort of nestled between, you could say, Firenze or Florence and Siena. The closest larger city would be Arezzo. So for any of you who might know that area a little bit, then you would know approximately where I was. And it was nice because I had a lot more independence, as you can imagine, because I wasn't driving my own car. So it was a matter of me just walking to the train station and jumping on a train, whether I wanted to go to Florence, Siena, even if I wanted to do a day trip in Rome, it would have been quite simple. The trains, you got to remember, travel over 200 kilometers. I guess, is it an hour? Yeah. No, yeah, it's fast. Super fast. So I could go to Rome in about an hour and, 20 minutes or something like that. But I didn't. I didn't do a whole lot of anything. I just did a whole lot of walking in the countryside. I walked around that small city. And, there's something so beautiful about those cities. It's a typical picture of a Tuscan city, right? Where it's sort of situated on top of a large hill or mountain, not a mountain, but it's on the upper part of a hill. And you got to remember that these are very, very, very old cities. And there's a rock wall around these cities, most of them anyway, as far as I know. And there's large gates that lead in and out of the city. So in Monte San Savino, there's 3 large gates that led one that led to Rome, one that led to Siena, and one that led to Florence. And you can imagine, in the 13th century, that these gates would close at night so that they could keep the invaders out. And, it's just the amount of history in something like that is just for me, it's just so amazing. And I love it so much. So yeah, I would be I'm sure the people recognize me in that, in that small city is oh, there she goes again. Where is she off to today, sort of thing. Whether I was, headed to a nice long walk in the countryside or, I spent some time even in the local library, catching up on some of my own work, going on some Zoom meetings even, or else I would just take my journal with me and I would be just a happy camper, just sitting my butt down at a cafe or a bench. And yeah, and then of course, the shopping. There's always shopping to do. So yeah, I think the favorite city that's very nearby, for me, is Arezzo. Florence is super busy. The center is just so busy. And yeah, you got to realize this is just approaching the top tourist season in Italy. But this other city of Arezzo was just very nice, just, very beautiful shops and very relaxed, super easy to get around. And yeah, so what else did I do? Yeah, just the countryside alone is just breathtaking. And, the cappuccinos and the arts, the ancient history, the fresh air. Yeah, it was all fantastic. And let's see some highlights, like, or even food wise. I had some delicious, delicious pizzas, of course. Didn't really have much pasta, but when I did have pasta, it was amazing. All the food there is just extremely fresh, 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 fresh. So it can be the most simple dish and it would just, yeah, be amazing. Like, for example, when my brother picked me up at the airport in Rome and we were driving back, it was around, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were both kind of getting hungry and for lunch. God knows I probably had been traveling about over 24 hours at that point. And so we pull over, and you got to think, like, this is not a North American sort of like pull over on the side of the highway at a gas station sort of thing. I mean, you pull over to, yes, perhaps it is a gas station, or it's just maybe a tiny, tiny village or something like that. But the food is great anywhere you go. You could be at amazing little cafe in the middle of Rome and have, this amazing food, or you could pull over on the Autobahn and have amazing food. And for us that day, we came upon this small cafe, and it was mozzarella. I think that was actually even the name of it. And they're known in that region for their bufala mozzarella. So the fresh mozzarella balls. Well, bufala, the female buffalo, it has the most amazing, fresh, soft, delicious mozzarella, and that's exactly, they served it like that, just so plain. Like, actually, you would ask for a ball or two of mozzarella, and it looked like a giant goose egg on your plate. And then, I mean, they had sides for it, like, for example, fresh cherry tomatoes. Maybe you want olives, maybe you want artichoke, some beautiful Tuscan bread with that. I'm trying to think what else might you have with it. But, basically they just pour olive oil over it, and it was just so, so delicious. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, and it, just so simple. And then, and maybe if you want a little wine with that, or so great memories for that. So what else can I tell you? Well, I guess one thing I've noticed, and maybe this was true last year as well, but I didn't notice it because I wasn't actually in the cities as much. But you know what? I think it's really changed a lot in the last year. And this is that a lot of the locals were also wearing running shoes. And I remember going to Italy, in my late 20s. So let's say 25 years ago. Wait, I'm lying. No, it's at least 25 years ago. And I mean, people, like, I just have this memory about how people dress, like the leather shoes, the leather bags, the scarves, all just so chic and elegant and on point. Usually at least a year ahead of where we would be in fashion in the States or Canada. But yeah, like, I noticed that the locals are not wearing the beautiful leather shoes, the high heels or anything like that. They're wearing comfortable runners. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on. Like, are things, slowly infiltrating now from North America, like in terms of comfort? Well, I mean, they're not walking around in sweats, thank God. But the shoes are are runners. So let's see where this goes, I guess. And also, there is the odd McDonald's that you would see now, but there is no Starbucks. Thank God. Nothing like that happening there because no one messes around with the Italian coffee. And let's hope to God that never changes. I don't think the Italians would ever leave Starbucks changed in Italy. But other than that, like it was very easy in the stores. Most people speak English, not amazing English, but they enough to get by. And yeah, I could have probably learned a little bit more Italian on my end, but I was fairly lazy with that. But okay, the grocery store is actually one thing that was surprising to me, but I thought was really neat is, okay, so when I would pick up fruit or something like that, I remember one day I picked up some apples and I went to the self-checkout and I was checking out my things. And then I got to my produce and I thought, okay, so like, where's the scale or how do I choose the type of apple I have here? And nothing was coming up. And I was like, what's going on? So a attendant came over and helped me. And he told me that you have to, or he gestured, you have to go to the produce area and put your produce on a scale and get the barcode from that machine that spits out the barcode from the weight, and you choose the type of produce over there, so that when you come to the till, it's super easy and fast, which makes so much sense. Otherwise, you know how it is in North America, we're waiting for the cashier to possibly look up the code or whatever. And I mean, this just made so much sense that everything was ready by the time you got up to the till. So, yeah, I think that pretty sums it up. But like, except to say that I was I'm not going to say ready to come home because of course I loved every single moment there, but I was happy to come home. I was fulfilled. I missed my home in many ways. I missed the spaciousness of my province. I missed the familiarity. I missed, my little routines. I really missed my bed. I missed opening up my windows in the evening. The stillness of our street. We have a very quiet street, lots of trees, and my familiar foods. Not that I have that many familiar foods I was dying to come back to, because that is one thing. I'm like, the food in Italy is just amazing. But yeah, I felt refreshed and ready to get back to work, and very, very much in gratitude. So, you know what? Sometimes you just need to go away to realize what you have. Not only to see what's on the other side of the world, but to remind you of what you have and how good you have it in many ways. So change is always good. Let's sum it up like that. Change is amazing for the human. And we need to get uncomfortable sometimes in order to grow and expand and evolve as a human. So, okay. And I miss my dog. I really miss my dog. So that was nice. Let's go on. So, let's get into the work I'm doing. So I would say that, I'm really expanding the coaching business, the mentoring business. And there's basically 3 different ways that I'm kind of offering my services to people right now. But before I get on towards my offer suite, let's first talk about the type of clients that I tend to feel the best working with and seem to be attracted to come into my world. So, I realized too, doing this work for 25 plus years I've been doing it, that I'm basically just acting as, you could say, a medium, a conduit of like sort of what's channeled through me and then delivered onto my client. Like, I realize that so much. Sure, my past experiences, my knowledge, has really given me a lot of gifts that I can give towards my clients, but it's coming to me, it's coming through me from a greater source, whether you call that God, this universe, like it's and I feel very privileged to be that for my clients. So the type of client that usually is drawn towards me is the client who wants to come back to the true self, like they want to self-identify again. Like they want to go back to being the person that they've always truly been, but life has taken them on, a different path because of partners, because of becoming a parent, careers that have taken them out of alignment, careers that they just do in order to pay the bills and have absolutely no passion for. Being ridden by guilt and just all those things that makes a person eventually wake up one day and think, like, who am I? Like, where? This is not like, I don't laugh anymore. I don't seem to enjoy life. I don't feel like I'm in gratitude of what I do have. Where have I gone wrong? And please show me the way back. That is pretty typical of the type of client that comes into my world. On the outside, it might look like they have it all, but on the inside, they're struggling. I also feel like I am able to teach women again to trust their intuition, to start tapping again into their intuition. Like, this is a gift that we all have. Yes, men have it too, but women have a stronger sense of it, a stronger nudge, urge, a gut feeling that they cannot ignore. And we need to start using it more, women. Like, we all have it. Like, you remember those times where you're kind of going, I wanted to do it then. I felt the urge to do it and I didn't. And now it's 2 years later, 3 years later or whatever. And they're regretting their decisions. They realize that they've held themselves back for years. They realize that they could have been in a whole different life if they would have trusted themselves more. It's all of this is highly, highly rooted in trust, into self-trust, like a deep, deep, deep sense of trust. If you trust in yourself, you have no problems trusting in others or using the correct judgment of others. Not to say I want you to judge others. I have no room for judgment. It's something that I absolutely despise. Is there's so much judgment in this world nowadays, and we really need to clean that up. But I mean, judging in terms of, they always knew what they wanted, but they somehow were just, they fell into doubt. And probably because of being persuaded or manipulated or shamed into doing something that they were not aligned to doing, or doing it for the money, or doing it for the fame, or I don't know. But I love teaching women to start tapping into that, the knowing frequency, that knowing energy, that that gut knowing, that all knowing of the truth of who they really are. And something similar to that, which is like sort of a third type of client that is drawn to me, I guess you could say, is people who want to stay like empowered or stand in their personal power. Like, this, it's sort of like they're dipping their toe into it, like sometimes, and sometimes they're able to do it and sometimes they're not. And when they can't, it's, I don't know, it's almost like it's circumstantial. It's like, I feel empowered, I feel really good, I feel, and then this happens. And then they get lost again, and they fall into that self-doubt, and they start questioning, and the mind, they start living in their mind rather than living in their bodies and feeling into their bodies. And again, sensing and knowing what they know is true for them. They get way too caught up in their head and all the thought looping and anxiety. So it's sort of like bridging between like being in your personal power all the time, and then, those other times where you loop down, or you fall down and you fall down, you fall down. And so we just want a more consistent, grounded, leveled central nervous system that, the person can really lead themselves almost through any sort of conversation. When other people are judging them or doubting them, or, we're all going to feel fear. I'm not saying to you, oh my God, after working like with me, you're not going to fear anything in life. Obviously, we're all fear is part of the human experience. But it's to know that even when you're feeling fear, that you still feel trust, that you're going to be okay, that this will pass. And that there is light, that you do have to go through darkness in order to see the light. That's what I'm talking about, that you're not a hot mess express, like 50% of the time in your life, that it comes in 10 or 15% instead. So that's what I'm talking about. It's to have this more consistent personal power, which is just amazing and extremely satisfying to come to that level. And then finally, the fourth thing, and perhaps one of the most important parts, and this has only come later in my world through helping individuals uncouple. So relationships that have, met their expiry date and are going through divorce, separation. I have seen way, way, way too many women become financially like devastated, where they've left the relationship only to realize that they're not going to receive the monies that are righteously theirs. The justice system is not very just in many of these cases. In many of these cases, the women have to wait 1, 2, or more years in order to get some sort of spousal support or child support. And you might be listening to this and going, what are you talking about? This is insane. That's not possible. Of course you split everything, you split assets, you split debt, but the court system can hold things up people for a long time, especially if their partner is purposely delaying things, just trying to hold on to their money, or if their partner has had their own corporation all their life, and there's a lot of hidden money, and that also can get very, very ugly. It's just not right. And you might think, well, if it's not right, how can that happen? Well, it does. And I've seen it over and over and over again, where women have left with the clothes on their back and maybe a suitcase of clothes for the kids, and hopefully having a family member to live with until they get enough money saved to move out on their own. And they all get through it. And they all end up being okay, but it's not a way that it should happen. So women, we need to become much, much, much more financially intelligent at the beginning of your relationship. Well, hell, what am I saying? In your early 20s, like in university, as soon as you start earning your first dime as a teenager, you need to know how to invest. You need to know how to put some into saving. You need to know how to compound money. You need to know how to move money, make intelligent financial choices, and always, always, have your money. Of course, there's going to be joint money for the family, and you're going to make joint purchases, and you're going to have your names on those purchases. But you're always going to have your money as well. And so should he. But there shouldn't be any hidden money in any of this, ever. And it should be all blatantly open and easily accessible, all the numbers, all the time. There shouldn't be any instances where you go to the bank and you want to find out some information, and they say, "Oh, sorry, Mrs. Robertson, your name is not on this." Like, I'm telling you, it's crazy, and it's got to end. So let's talk about money. And this is something that I'm myself am educating myself more and more, and more than happy to spread this information to other women so that they too can do the same. I get it. We have children. We give birth. We step back in our careers. And we love, most of the time, to do that, to take these years off and be with our small children. And my God, it's the most important time of these children's lives, and it brings us the most beautiful memories. But it shouldn't mean you need to struggle financially because of that. I mean, your work, you have more work. You're working harder now, so the money shouldn't be any less because of that. So that's going to be another big piece of the work I do. And I'm really excited about it, actually. Very excited. So that makes me want to step into letting you know what are my offers. So if many of you that have been in my world for some time, you know that I start off with one-on-one coaching. Obviously, it felt most comfortable for me because therapy has always been one-on-one, right? But with the advent of COVID and a lot of online therapy, it sort of opened up the world, and it opened up my world to do a lot more. And I love the idea of propelling my clients forward and doing less of the, how did you get here, and the trauma work. I love touching on, why we might be doing the things the way we're doing, but let's not look in the rearview mirror anymore. Let's look forward in terms of what do we want to focus on? What do we want to place our intentions on? What's our vision? What kind of legacy do we want to leave for our children, for example? And, let's saddle up and let's go. Let's look into the future. What do you want to set your intentions on? What do you like? Where are your energy leaks? Like what makes you frustrated in life? What brings you joy in life? And we got to do more of the things that bring us joy, because when we do that, we raise our frequency. And if you're vibrating at a high frequency, you're attracting that same sort of high vibrational experiences back to you. Joy is coming right back to you. Love is coming right back to you. So it's just such a nicer way to live, and that's the type of work I'm really, really passionate about. So I have one-on-one coaching where we do weekly calls on Zoom with, mainly just with audio. Sometimes it's just phone conversations weekly. And you have the support of messaging in between those calls. Like, so we get on Voxer, and, if you're struggling during the week, you have the option to leave an audio voice note, and I can help you through that during the week until we have our next session. So we live a very intimate time in those coaching spaces, and another reason I love it so much. So whether it's 1 month, 3 months, month packages, it's all there, available, and on my website. And also relationship coaching there too, where it might be a 6-month package where you and your partner will receive relationship coaching, sometimes together, sometimes alone. It's sort of like, it's very individualized. It's very personalized. It's very customized. Yeah. You do it any way you want to do it, but you got those 6 months. So that when you end that coaching package, you're able to make a decision about the relationship with clarity and confidence. And that's what we always want to do, right? Coming from a place where our central nervous system is cool, calm, and relaxed, and you're not in some frenetic, crazy, anxious state. Because when you make decisions during those times, you're not going to be making good decisions. So then I have another small group right now that this is going to air, let's see, 15, 16, 17th, I think May 17th. There might still be one spot left for this, but I have a small group called Close Proximity, where I have 3 women only in this group. And these small groups are so much fun because, you tend to get a fairly good deal. It's a top investment when you're doing the one-on-one coaching. But, for a lesser cost investment to you, you're now in a group receiving, this particular one, Close Proximity, is an 8-week mastermind. I will hopefully remember to drop the link in the show notes. But it's 8 weeks, so 2 months of weekly calls with 2 other gals in this group. And you're just going to end up having 2 really, really good friends. You're going to get super close to these women. And I do a little bit of a either like a short call before accepting you or a little application. So because we want to make sure everybody's sort of on the same wavelength. But the topics will be mainly on relationships, because most women that join my world are sort of in between the, I'd say, 40 and 60 age range. So we're talking about parenting, we're talking about partners, intimate partners, lawyers or coworkers, relations. Relationships are going to be a part of our lives until we're 60 under, or spread across whatever your favorite part of the world is, ashes. But like that's the only way we get to know ourselves, is how we relate, right? We are like, our reality is how it's just mirrored in front of us by how we relate to ourselves and to others. So of course we're going to have conversations about relationships. It just sort of happens. But yeah, it just always works out. It just seems like the women that come into these are just perfect. And it works out because I'm attracting these women, because their frequency is my frequency, and it's been through it all, and I've coached other clients through it all. So if you're hearing this and you're interested, DM me, message me, or click on the link and see if it's still available. But don't worry if it's not. There's other beautiful things happening in my world starting, I'm going to say, the end of May. Hopefully, if I can get the offer and all things, the links ready. But they're going to be listed on my website 100%. And I'm going to call them speaking circles. And I just love that. It's almost like, it's not necessarily healing circles, although we do some healing work, of course. But it's more like, no, I'm going to gather, it's going to be 5 women in a group for 5 weeks. So sort of an intensive, where the topics going to vary. But I love the idea. I think the first speaking circle will be focused on self-identity. Why sometimes we struggle with claiming who we are. We want to claim it. We feel like we're this kind of person, but for some reason we're terrified of saying this in front of others. Like even myself, to be honest with you, like I've hired my own medium mentor now, and I'm being mentored by her. And to say that I feel very, very close spiritually, like to have being in touch with the spiritual world, spiritual guides. It's like that I have this claircognizance of this all-knowing. Like I know things for like as truth, either before anybody else knows them, or I just feel it. I just know it. And it's not to say that it's going to come immediately, but I know for certain it's going to come. I get this, it's hard to describe, but the sense of this, like spiritual energy around me that is so strong. And when I'm feeling this way, and I have these thoughts during those times, I know it's the truth, and it's going to be reality. So I can give you a couple examples, but I won't. But for me to say and to identify like this right now, like it kind of sounds woo-woo. And for a lot of people who kind of know me, going like, what? but it is who I am. And I'm not going to push it down anymore. I'm not like, that's who I am. Why would I not claim that? Because it is like, it just is. So teaching women to do that more in that space, I mean, I love it. And I'm also going to have like a guest speaker because I know a lot of powerful mentors in my world that I've worked with, and they have a lot to bring. And I'm sure they would give, a half an hour of their time or something like that just to pop in and teach us a few things. And perhaps, open you to even maybe being coached or mentored by them. So that's going to be one of them. And like, it might go from the last week of May to the last week of June. That would be 5 weeks right there. And then another one would probably start at the last week of June and go over to, and it's going to overlap a little bit. So you're welcome to join more than one speaking circle. I know another one's going to be on, let's say, loving yourself, loving your body. So probably a lot of nutrition and exercise component to that one. Because me in functional medicine, I love making the body healthy. Healthy body, healthy mind, healthy body. Gut-brain connection. It's just the way it is. So yeah, body love. Another guest speaker would be coming in on that. And I mean, I don't have this on the website yet, but I have a lot of different things that I'm scribbling out in my journal right now that I'm excited about. So there's for sure one going to be on sexuality. Yeah. And I think another, because I love decorating, I think I'm going to have one on aesthetics and get a good guest speaker on that, like how to beautify your home, how to beautify your office. I'm also have a plant science degree. I love gardening. So like, why wouldn't we talk about that? Beautifying your yard, beautifying your space. I mean, that brings me so much joy, and I'm sure for others as well. So let's have conversations about that. And then the last thing I want to mention is that I'm going to have one other experience. It's going to be a year-long experience. And can you imagine how well we'll know each other after a year? How beautiful that's going to be. And that's going to be through Voxer only. So it's going to be a messaging group experience. I don't have a cap to say that, I'm only allowing 20 women in yet or something, but you can imagine as more and more women enter, I'm going to feel there's going to come a time where I'm just going to say, oh, I reached my quota. This is all I can handle right now, because you're going to be able to drop one question a week. Let's say leave a 2-minute audio once a week. And that question is going to be answered for you either by that day or the next day, as long as you leave, the question there by 7 p.m. or something like that at night. Like, if you're going to leave me a question in the middle of the night, like, chances are, I'm not going to answer it within the next hour. But yeah, it's going to be something like that. So any question, like, really that you're struggling with, like, it could be like a blowout between you and a girlfriend, or it could be you're struggling, like you have so much anxiety because you were asked to speak at a luncheon for your work or something like that, and you've never done that. And I mean, it's completely open, but to know that you're supported, and it's mainly support by me. Of course, I'm going to be running it, but how do you not know that there wouldn't be one other woman in that group that leads or speaks at lunches all the time, and she's going to be able to gift you with, how she manages this, or another woman that, like led herself amazingly through some drama with a girlfriend. Like, I mean, it's just going to be such a beautiful, close, tight-knit like experience of a year. Again, you're going to, like, if you're struggling with friendships, for example, oh my God, like this would be perfect. I just mean like you're going to get to know people from all over the world. You might even visit them one day, you know? Maybe one day you've always wanted to go to Scandinavia and there happens to be a Danish gal in here. I mean, it's the possibilities and networking. You know what? Like, I was never someone who liked groups before. I'm actually a bit of a loner. And I always sort of, was I going to be like taught by somebody, coached or mentored by somebody, I wanted that person to myself. And there, yes, 100%. Like I do love that idea too. And I will be investing in a one-on-one mentor. But so far I've been doing it mainly through groups and I've loved it. I would never have dreamed I would love it so much as I'm loving it right now. I have so many different wonderful women in my world now with amazing expertise and skills in areas that, you know, everything from parenting to sexuality to relationships to business strategies, social, like impacting themselves on social media, like, yeah. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So I think I will, and I hope you enjoyed this solo episode. I loved speaking with you, and I hope you had the most amazing Mother's Day. It was a beautiful, beautiful day here in sunny Manitoba, about 25 degrees Celsius, and gorgeous. So wherever you are, I will see you in my world in about a week. Okay, talk soon. Bye. Ciao.
Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.